proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus went out to the Mount of Olives. At daybreak, he reappeared in the temple area, and when the people started coming to him, he sat down and began to teach them. The scribes and the Pharisees led the woman forward who had been caught in adultery. They made her stand there in front of everyone. "Teacher," they said to him, "this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses ordered such women to be stoned. What do you have to say about the case?" They were posing this question to trap him, so that they could have something to accuse him of. Jesus simply bent down and started tracing on the ground with his finger. When they persisted in their questioning, he straightened up and said to them, "Let the man among you who has no sin be the first to cast a stone at her." A second time he bent down and wrote on the ground. Then the audience drifted away one by one, beginning with the elders. This left him alone with the woman, who continued to stand there before him. Jesus finally straightened up again and said to her, "Woman, where did they all disappear to? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she answered. Jesus said, "Nor do I condemn you. You may go, but from now on, avoid this sin." The Gospel of the Lord.
Our Gospel for today comes from the 8th chapter of St. John, the story of the woman caught in adultery being presented to Jesus by the scribes and Pharisees with the question, okay, what is your opinion? What do you think about this case? Now, this episode in the encounter, the many encounters of Jesus with the scribes and Pharisees, I think blends very well with the theme that we have been developing from the first two readings, which is this: yes, we have had a sinful past, but can we look at the future? The future of God, actually. The future that God is preparing for us. And it is God's action. God will make something new out of us. And so we should look at life from the optic of God, not dwelling on the past and wallowing and being imprisoned in its misery, but having hope in the future of God, who will do it, who will do it for us. That was the experience of St. Paul. And now we have this woman caught in adultery. Now, if we look at the context of that time, adultery was a crime that was attributed to wives or women, married women, who were caught in the act of infidelity. You know, this is one unfair legislation during that time. If it is a married man caught in the act of infidelity, it is not considered or was not considered adultery. Adultery was levied against wives. Only married women caught in the act were accused of adultery. So this woman is married, presented by the scribes and Pharisees to Jesus. Apparently, the scribes and Pharisees had already discussed the case of this woman. And if we look at the legal system at that time, most probably it was not only the husband of this woman that brought her to the scribes and Pharisees, because according to the law, you need the witness of two other persons. So most probably, the husband of this woman brought two other witnesses to the scribes and Pharisees, to testify to the truth that this woman was having an affair. And it seems that the scribes and Pharisees have already made the decision that this woman was guilty. And they brought this woman to Jesus. Now, we know the reason. They wanted to trap Jesus. Now, They were not really interested in the opinion of Jesus, but they wanted to trap him. Why? They said to Jesus, according to the law left to them by Moses, a woman, a married woman, caught in the act of intercourse, not with her husband, should be stoned to death. Now, there's a complicated legal background to this, which we don't want to discuss. But let us take it as one of those legal traditions. A woman caught in the act of adultery could be stoned to death. Okay, that's according to the law. But during this time, the scribes and the Pharisees were not allowed, were not allowed to levy the death penalty. They could not, they could not sentence anyone to death. Okay? And so who must sentence someone to death, even if the law of Moses provides it? Not the scribes and Pharisees, not the spiritual leaders, because that will put blood into the hands of the spiritual leaders. So the Roman occupying authorities were the ones who were supposed to implement the death penalty upon investigation by the scribes and Pharisees and upon recommendation by them also, if they have found this case deserving of such a penalty. So the investigation, the determination done by the scribes and Pharisees, but the actual sentencing should be done by the Roman authorities. Look, with that as a background, they present this woman to Jesus. According to the law, she deserves death. What is your opinion? What do you think of this? And according to the gospel, they presented this woman to trap Jesus. Where is the trap? If Jesus says, okay, stone her to death, then they will always say, look, you want a case to be filed against us, scribes and Pharisees, for you know that we should not levy the death penalty. But if he says, yes, you can do it, then he will also be accused of being a collaborator of the Roman authorities. He seems to recognize the authority of the Roman occupying forces. And that is, unnationalistic. But if he says, no, do not stone her to death, then he would be accused of non-compliance with the law. Saan ka nga ba lalagay? If you say stone her, you say, aha, you recognize the Romans, and you are putting us to the spot, on the spot here, the scribes and the Pharisees. But if he says, no, do not stone her, then they will say, you do not recognize Moses. But Jesus was brilliant. Jesus could see through their hearts, and Jesus knows how to answer. So he tells them,